19 now, First Alert Meteorologist Brad Maushart. And it is, well, the gloom's back. We saw a little bit of wintry weather, too, this morning. Hopefully it didn't impact you all that much if you were heading out and about. Early on, it was limited visibility, a few slick spots out there. Nothing too bad. I think at most I saw Lawrenceburg, Batesville, Indiana, both reported a 1/10 of an inch of snow, and a lot of traces elsewhere through Ohio and Kentucky. Not a ton. We're catching a nice little lull right now here through the lunch hour, but things will pick back up as we work way towards sunset tonight. Temperatures are also working their way up, though, and as they do, we're going to start off with rain, and then that changes back over to snow late tonight. So a little bit of a wintry mix on the way for your Friday, which is always fun. Again, that's tonight into Saturday morning. By Saturday morning, some areas could pick up to as much as 1.5 inches of snow. That's mostly going to be east of town. I'll explain why coming up in a second, but generally this is not a very wide storm system, and it's going to be pushing in right at around the peak daytime heating hours, right? So most of us are going to be seeing rain initially, and then by the time most of the moisture spreads off to the east of downtown, that's where temperatures will start to tumble, and we could see some of that snow sticking. But for most of us, if you're a snow lover, this is going to be another disappointment for you. Then many of us, it's going to be a nuisance out there with a few slick spots on the way. For the evening, with that said, today and tomorrow, both First Alert weather days. Don't forget to download the First Alert weather app. Great app to have this time of the year. You can always check the hour-by-hour forecast. But if we do happen to see any wintry weather alerts, watches, warnings, advisories, right, you'll be the first to get them sent right to the palm of your hand. Great app to have all year round, but especially this time of the year, because you never know what you're going to get here in the Ohio Valley. And today it's the dreaded wintry mix, which always makes forecasting very fun. Today's weather number, 2/10. If you've been keeping track here this month, that is our snow total. So far for the month of January, we saw 13.6 inches. We have 13.8 total now in the season, but 13.6 of it fell earlier before the new year. So we had a very snowy start to the season, but only 2/10 of an inch since for the new year. And that makes it our least snowiest start to a January since 2020. And if we continue this trend and end up, I don't think it's going to end that way because we got a lot of January to go and all the ingredients are back in place. But if we would end the month like this, it would be our second tie. It would be a tie for the second least snowy January on record. So we'll hopefully not get that. Also counting down the days, we're just 3 days away from MLK Jr. Day, Monday this coming week. So if you're enjoying a 3-day weekend, it's going to be a very cold end to that 3-day weekend. Monday and Tuesday both look frigid. Valentine's Day, you better start making your reservations now. We are just about a month away, and St. Patty's Day almost exactly 2 months away. Spring, just a little over 2 months away because that happens just after St. Patty's Day. Right now, the gloom is back. Our winter, our January gloom is here and has settled back in after a snowy start to the day. Despite it, southerly breeze pushing temperatures up, almost up to the freezing point. We're seeing gusts up to about 25 miles an hour, making it feel like 20 degrees. It does not feel pleasant outside, but the feels like temperature doesn't matter when it comes to actual precipitation, right? The actual temperature does. And at the surface, we're sitting at 31. We're going to climb into the upper 30s this afternoon. You can already see some of that here just off to our southwest. 36 already just down the river in Vevey, and then you can zoom out a little bit further, and you'll probably see some 40s down there in Evansville. So that's the warm wave that's setting in ahead of the arrival of this cold front, which means we'll see rain to start, and then once the sun sets, temperatures tumble tonight, we go back to wintry weather. We're 6 degrees warmer than yesterday, but not nearly as warm as Evansville. They're 20 degrees warmer than just 24 hours ago. Here's our cold front starting to slide on, and you can already see some of the green showing up there in southwest Indiana. That's that transition to rain as it's encountering some of that warmer air. That's what we're going to see across the tri-state. I can't rule out some sleet trying to mix in, but most of us, it's just going to be wet weather by, let's say, about 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And then once the sun sets, just after 5:30 tonight, 5:41 sunset this evening, temperatures will tumble off. Most of the moisture is going to be east of town, which is why you'll see the highest snow totals over there. But we will see a few slick spots trying to develop late tonight. That's cold front number one. There's another cold front. It's kind of like an octopus. It's got a lot of things going on over here. If an octopus had 3 tentacles. This next cold front arrives for the second half of the weekend, and that's what it reinforces the colder air in MLK Jr. Day, Monday, Tuesday, and we'll see some single-digit lows. We'll see some sub-zero wind chill values. That is all what we have to look forward to or not look forward to into early next week. So big cool down coming too. Thanks to this big lousy low. It is extra lousy. Here we go. Working away. We're coming back in. Close shot of downtown. A few snow showers already trying to push into Indy. Again, here, I do think those temperatures warm up pretty quickly the next few hours. So don't expect it to be falling as snow by the time it pushes into the tri-state in most cases. Best chances for precip start to roll in around 3, 4, 5 o'clock. That's going to be enough of a nuisance to slow down the evening commute, right? Hey, Mike, good afternoon to you. Happy Friday. Wet, not wintry to start, but then after sunset, we start that wintry transition. We go back with a mix of sleet and snowfall through the evening. But look at all the moisture, right? It's east of town at that point. Few lingering light showers off of the west, but most of the cold front itself at this point is around and east of downtown. That's why you're going to see some heftier totals off to the east. Can't rule out a little bit of a dusting late tonight, but again, most of the totals east of town. A few light snow showers will continue right on through Saturday. Into Saturday afternoon up to the north, up there towards Fayette and Union counties, a few more light snow showers, but yeah, Saturday itself, after we get past the morning hours, doesn't look too terrible. Still a first alert weather day because I think we see some slick spots, particularly east of town Saturday morning, but the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend look pretty good. Here's what I'm having. I've updated this a little bit from yesterday just to kind of compensate for the wet weather we're going to be seeing. And it's going to take those snow totals down around and areas west of town. So wintry mix. We could see some light accumulation, a little dusting for tomorrow morning, right? But don't expect anything really significant. Off to the east, areas in the blue shade, that is up to 1.5 inches of snowfall with a few isolated higher amounts. And I do think we do, areas of, let's say, Adams County, Mason County down there by Maysville, could see some isolated higher amounts, maybe up to 2 inches. This is my forecast, right? I like to do this. I don't like to just rely solely on model data and show you that. It's easy to do, but it's kind of lazy. So let me show you kind of some of the models I'm going off of and how I got this and kind of came to this conclusion. That's not it. Hold, please. Let me show you. So the same model I showed you to show you the timeline, this is what it is putting out in terms of snowfall potential. And I think it kind of overdoes it a little bit in the west, but here we go through the day today. So this runs through about midnight tonight. Right at that point, we could have 1 inch of snow on the ground down in West Union, Maysville, maybe 1.5 inches in that dark blue shaded area. And then you see those little pockets of purple down there off to the southeast of town. That is where we could see those slightly higher totals, right? So that's what we mean when we say there's isolated totals that could be a little bit higher. It's not everybody. It's not worth like putting, up to 2 inches because then most of the area doesn't see that much. It's just very isolated spots could see some slightly higher amounts. Most of the rest of the tri-state, as you can see, not a whole lot at all. Apologies in advance. We do have a better chance, it looks like, next weekend with that other storm we've been talking about. If you like the snow, there's a better chance next weekend. But at least from this round, most of the heftiest snowfall totals likely around Clinton and Warren counties and areas down through the south. So again, going back to it, that turns then into this for what I'm thinking in terms of snowfall totals tonight. Some of the other models are showing similar things. This is a different weather model. It comes in a lot hotter off to the west. I don't really buy that. I just think it's going to be too wet ahead of time. Another snowfall model comes in, I think, a little bit too hot close to downtown, but I think it nails kind of the east side up to about 1.5 inches. And then, like I said, some of the other models are very similar to this. Again, mostly generally east of town, up to 1.5 inches, and then finally one more model showing you way too much probably. I think this one comes in just a little too hot, just about everywhere, probably by about 1 inch in most spots. So, yeah, that's what we got going on. Again, this is where we're going for in terms of at least by we, I'm speaking for me, because I made this, up to 1.5 inches of snow off to the east. Slightly higher amounts are possible. The rest of us, you could see a light dusting from time to time, maybe up to 1/2 inch, but that's going to be really more so right where the blue and the green meet. Right. All right, let's get through the rest of this. JD, I'm doing great. Weather for Canton tomorrow morning, probably a little snowy up your way. And, of course, it's just going to be very cold next week because we have a big cool down coming with that second cold front. Here we go into the next 3 days. Friday tonight, due to the wintry mix, the chance that we could see some travel impacts late this evening, even really for the evening rush with the wet weather pushing in, there's a good chance we could see some slowdowns. You know how it is around here. First alert weather day today, another tomorrow, because we will have some slick spots, especially east of town. for the first half of Saturday. Rest of your Saturday evening looks pretty good. Sunday, it just gets cold. 27's not bad, but by Monday and Tuesday next week, here we go. The cool down really starts to push in. There's some of the mix we're going to see tonight into early tomorrow. We could have a few flakes flying in our northernmost communities tomorrow morning, and that's where we could get a quick dusting or maybe up to an inch in a few spots of like Fayette and Union counties. Rest of us, it's not too bad. And then we stay nice and dry for the rest of Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. But you can see we don't even have any clouds showing up there, so that is why we're going to get pretty cold. It's like taking the blankets off Monday evening. At that point, we could already see some feels like temperatures in the single digits or below zero. Here's what it'll feel like by Monday. You can see that cold wave sweeps in already through Monday morning. If you have any early plans, it's going to feel like the single digits in a few spots, but that cold air really rushes in through the afternoon. And that's what it'll feel like at lunchtime Monday. 5 to 10 below zero. Not ideal, right? A little breezy for Monday. Same with Tuesday. That's Tuesday morning, as many of you are coming off a 3-day weekend, about 5 to 10 below zero. If you have to wait outside for the school bus, please bundle up. You'll need to do that. We'll start to rebound a bit from there quickly into Wednesday, but that, as you'll see here very quickly, is going to change back over to not so nice weather. Clouds quickly build in for Wednesday. Tuesday night into Wednesday, can't rule out a few flakes up to the north, but most of us are not going to be impacted by anything. Same with Wednesday and the Thursday. It's just mostly gloomy, and then a few flakes will fly. Can't rule out a quick dusting in a few spots, but this is not a high impact event. Wednesday into Thursday, and then we dry back out briefly into Friday. Friday looks nice. That's probably going to be one of our better days here. It's going to be chilly, but Friday looks mostly sunny, the highs in the low 30s, right? Chilly, but pretty good. Enjoy it, because Saturday and Sunday, this is that system we've been watching for the last couple of days. It pretty consistently, since let's say Wednesday, has been slowly starting to shift farther south. Just a couple days ago, that low was up here. I mean, it was up near Chicago, working through the Great Lakes, and that put us along the freezing line. Even as late as yesterday, we were talking about how it might be the dreaded wintry mix that we've been dodging all winter. Now that low is way down here to the south, and that's what happens. This far out, between now and next weekend, we make adjustments to the forecast, right? These models shift. Low can be, it can shift several hundred miles, and that has all the impact on what we end up with in this time of the year, when a couple degrees makes all the difference. So right now, storm system coming in a little closer to the Ohio Valley, and what that means for us is that we'll start to see some snow, likely as early as Saturday morning, better chances Saturday afternoon into early Sunday. It keeps the nasty wintry mix off to our south, and then we see all snow. So if this shifts farther north again, we could end up in the freezing mix. We could see some rain. But for right now, the model that I prefer, the European model, does have mostly snow for us into next weekend. So something we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on. It's too early for details. It's not going to be that snow map that was going around a couple days ago that was showing, the Ohio Valley getting like 50 inches of snow. That's never going to happen. But we do have a good chance to see a higher impact snow event next week, or at least a chance for a wintry mix. So that's something to keep an eye on if you do have plans for next weekend. Here or anywhere else kind of around the Ohio Valley. Let's see. Great-grandkids from Central Florida had to get winter clothes. Yeah. If they're in town this week, it's going to be pretty chilly outside. So definitely bundle up, especially for Sunday and Monday and Tuesday of next week if they're still here. So very, very cold. Not a lot of snow, but they might see a few flakes out there late tonight. So if they haven't seen snowfall yet, that's always a fun thing. Or if, you don't see snow where you're at, depending on where you're at in the tri-state, you can always take them over to Perfect North Slopes and they can enjoy some man-made snow over there. Let's see, Darla, good afternoon to you and happy Friday. Aurora is looking like most. It's just going to be cold, right? And since you're a little bit farther west, expect more of the wintry mix and not a lot of accumulation. It's not to say you can't see some slick spots late tonight or early tomorrow, but the overall accumulation is going to be minimal on the west side of town. That includes all of southeast Indiana, including Aurora there. So don't expect a ton of snowfall from this. Reds Fest 3 to 9. Let me take us back through the timing real quick. Give me a second to scroll up and find this. as early as 3 to 5 o'clock. That is when we're going to start to see some of this rain pushing in. So at 3 o'clock, a few sprinkles. Temperatures at this point are going to be in the upper 30s. It's not going to sustain snowfall, but the roads could be wet. So wet, not wintry. 3, 4, 5 o'clock, that rain becomes widespread. Now, after 5 to 6 o'clock, this is a cold front coming in, right? So temperatures will quickly drop. By 6 o'clock, we'll start to see a few flakes mixing in areas to the north. Most of us, it's still rain. We're still mild. By 7 o'clock is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. 7, 8, 9 o'clock, that's when we're expecting that wintry transition to take place, right? Going from wet back to wintry. Luckily, in that span, even though we're going from wet to wintry very quickly within a span of, let's say, 2 or 3 hours, a lot of that snow is going to have a hard time sticking, at least initially. But it'll start to get a foothold after about 9 to 10 o'clock once these temperatures fall off. So, yes, we could see some slick spots closer to the end of that timeline you gave, about 8, 9 o'clock. It's not going to be the snowpocalypse, and it depends on what you're driving, right? How comfortable you are in snow or any kind of like slick spots. If you take your time and you're not in a hurry, I think you'll be fine. I don't think you need to cancel your plans, but you're relying on everybody else around you to do a good job too. So, and you know how it is. We're notoriously good drivers. So with that, just be aware. I do think we see some slick spots late tonight, early tomorrow morning. But the later you get, I think the worse it's going to be. Yeah, I wouldn't cancel your plans. You look out the window, which now there's a bunch of windows down there at the convention center, right? So you'll be able to see. If you're looking out and the roads, for whatever reason, look covered or something like that, yeah, maybe you might hightail it back home. But I'm not seeing any reason to cancel anything outside tonight. It's not going to be one of those snowstorms. No freezing rain. I mean, that would be the thing that it would probably get me to stay home if it was freezing rain. There's no threat for that. Just a wintry mix to snow late tonight. All right, let's work our way through the rest of this forecast. What I do want to mention is that after a very cold stretch here ahead, it looks like we're going to remain cold through the end of the month. That's something we hadn't seen for the first half of the month, with which, you know, is a reason we haven't seen a whole lot of snowfall, right? We just last Friday set a high temperature record in the upper 60s. We are back to winter for the rest of January. It's below normal temperatures, if not well below. And then on top of that, we're going to tack on above normal precipitation chances. If you're looking at that, I mean, it's pretty easy to decipher. Below normal temperatures, above normal precipitation, generally that equals snow. So the chances will be there here for the next couple of weeks. Something to keep, yeah, Sherry, buy wine now, yes. Don't worry, I'm already plenty stocked, and since I had the nasty whatever super duper flu that was going around, I have plenty to go around. It was an unintentional dry start to January here in Bad News Bradland, so we'll make up for that this weekend. 33 for your Saturday. Some light snow showers out and about, especially areas north. That's where we can see a few more flakes lingering a little bit longer, and then we dry back out and clear back out. For Sunday, a little free vitamin D Monday too. Tuesday, not bad. It's not bad if you're looking at it through the window and not going out into it, because it's going to be pretty cold. Single digits as you wake up in a few spots Monday morning. Monday afternoon, sub-zero wind chills. That arrives Monday as early as noon. Continues the rest of the day and through most of Tuesday. And then it's going to be a quick warm-up. We're back to 40 degrees. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. I don't know, I'm being selfish with that. There we go. 40 degrees Wednesday, 36 Thursday. There is a chance there a few of those days we could see a few flakes, maybe Tuesday, north, way late, in the evening. Otherwise, mostly sunny there for most of Tuesday. Wednesday into Thursday, another chance. We could see a few flakes flying, maybe a little bit of a dusting. But the next more significant system arrives after a nice lull there on Friday for Saturday, Sunday, and potentially Monday next week. It's a long ways out. We're going to hammer out the details of that as we work away into early next week. But for right now, it's looking, unlike yesterday, a little bit more wintry than anything. Yesterday, it kind of looked like the dreaded wintry mix. It's not to say that can't still happen, but it's something we'll keep an eye on for next week. So, in the meantime, today, first alert weather day. Again, stay on your toes if you're going to be out late tonight. We do have that snow chance coming in, and most of our easternmost communities have the better chances to see some of that sticking outside by tomorrow morning. Up to an inch and a half. Isolated higher amounts are definitely possible in a few spots the farther southeast you get. And then if you're a snow lover, you're going to be disappointed from this one, probably across much of the tri-state, with that wintry mix hanging on just a little too long before the snow takes over. So, Susan, happy Friday to you. Happy Friday, everybody else that's been tuning in. We're going to call it quits here on a Friday. I'll be back at 3 and 4 o'clock. You can catch us then. For now, enjoy what looks to be the next nice couple of hours here until that snow returns. So get outside if you need to run any last-minute errands, before the wet weather comes back in, because it'll slow things down. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy what looks to be a wintry and cold weekend. We'll be back at 3 and 4 o'clock.